news is you have as many wins as the Emirates as we do at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but the Emirates has been open for 13 years longer. So welcome back to Yanks Abroad. As you can see, we are just seconds after the final whistle at the North London Derby. Casey is devastated in that, I will say, oddly fashionable Tottenham top, but the set-piece defending strikes again for Tottenham as Arsenal come away with a 1-0 win. Vicario, as great of a shot stopper as he is, does not know how to command his box. You must have just been fuming, Casey.
I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, how long have we been talking about like, how many people need to get fired before we can defend a set piece? It's actually insane. We got let off the fact that the first couple corners, they actually weren't good deliveries, which is very unlike Saka. And then the first time he puts a quality ball in, I mean, it's a push, but it's the smallest push in the world. Romero he was so good the entire match. You just have to be stronger than that. Like, you cannot. There's always physicality that's going to happen in the box, and he just used it as an excuse to stop defending. It was not 100%. A hard enough push. It was not a hard enough push to not be able to defend. And then on top of that, Vicario can't command his box. I mean, he is so good at literally everything but commanding his box on set pieces, which is a huge part of being a goalkeeper, and is a much bigger part when you have inept set piece defending. So it's just it's
funny. It's one of the main reasons actually we moved on from Ramsdale, which I don't think a lot of people realize, is he's not a good set piece defender. Anyone who watched the Southampton match on Saturday morning against Manchester United saw that firsthand. But that was one of the main reasons we wanted David Raya. Like, I think Ramsdale's obviously a little worse with his feet than Raya, probably a better shot stopper, but Raya is one of the best box commanders there is in terms of goalkeepers. Even though he's not a tall goalkeeper, he's not a big goalkeeper, he's really good at commanding, coming out and grabbing the ball, punching the ball, whatever. And, I mean, we don't concede a lot of set pieces because of it. And, I mean, when it comes down to it, that was the difference in the match today. I mean, North London derbies are always the smallest of margins. I mean, a call here, a deflection here, whatever it might be. And that's what it just came down to today. And yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it is Vicario's fault regardless. It's probably a very small push in another world. Maybe that's called a foul. But I mean, inside of 3 yards of inside the 6 yard box, like, your goalkeeper has to come out, has to get a hand to it. And I actually thought Lee Dixon made a good point is, if he comes and tries to get a hand on that, he probably gets a foul called regardless, right, just because there's so many bodies there. You can't stand on your line with a ball that close to your net, and you're going to lose matches because of that. And we saw exactly that. And, you know, Saka gets bailed out after probably one of his worst North London derby performances that I've seen, by putting in one great ball, getting the assist. And Gabriel, obviously, we know is awesome in the air.
That's what I was about. I mean, it's just unacceptable that we get Saka's worst match that I think I've ever seen him play. And like, he literally had zero impact up until that corner kick, and the fact that we come. I mean, it's just the biggest problem is one A, 1B is the set piece defending, and then second is the attack. Nobody in the Tottenham attack wants to make anything happen. It is cross the ball to a general area and hope something good happens. I mean, the amount of crosses that went to absolutely no one. And it's not for lack of trying from Solanke. He's doing everything he can to make the correct run. There's just no service to him. And Brennan John, I mean, I have to apologize because I knew it was a hot take when I made it in the moment. But I should literally be killed for ever mentioning that there was a chance that Brennan Johnson could possibly, in any situation, ever be better than Bukayo Saka. He was fucking horrendous today. He got into so many good positions. And if he had any confidence in either taking Timber one-on-one or making a cross that actually had a direction to it, I'm going to put the ball here because I know the runner is going there, rather than just clipping it in or hitting it low across the box and never clearing the first man. I mean, we made Timber, Gabriel, and Saliba look, I mean, they are great, but we made them look so much better than we needed to, just due to the fact that no one wanted to actually put a cross on someone's foot or someone's head. We just wanted to get into the box. There was no creativity. There was no direction from the attack. And it was just the lack of attacking prowess that this team has, and the amount of money we've spent on trying to fix the attack, and we continue to get it wrong, is so disappointing. And then you compile on top of the fact that we lose again off of not being able to defend a fucking set piece every fucking time.
I will say, though, like, you're transfer policy is a bit odd, right? Because you've brought in Brennan Johnson, Wilson Odobert, Timo Werner. They're all kind of the same player, right? They like to get to the byline and throw crosses in. They're not supreme finishers. They do get into a lot of good positions. But they're not actually, as you said, really trying to find Solanke, who is by the way, I thought your best performer today. I thought Solanke was
The way he
awesome.
held the ball up was fantastic.
But here's my issue. You get Saliba on an early yellow on what was the beginning of the end for Jared Gillett in terms of his ability to referee this match.
Yeah.
And then you don't go at him once the rest of the match. You don't put Solanke and long balls at him one single time. All they had to do was put Solanke's huge body on Saliba all match, throw the ball up in the air, and Saliba would have to have been very careful.
Right.
They had the advantage. That was working in the first 20 minutes. Then they stopped doing it the second Saliba got a yellow card. So I don't really know what happened. And the other thing to me, if we're just going to look at where this match started, you showed up with 5 attackers who all kind of want to do the same thing. And then Bentancur, who I don't know if you saw in the 62nd minute, looked like he was running in mud trying to chase the ball. The tactics made no sense. What you should have done is try and control the midfield because we didn't have a midfield and try and come at us through the middle instead of just like going at some of our strongest positions out on the wing where we have tons of cover. And like Saka and Martinelli are both excellent defensive wingers. They both get back and track back really well. So I was just shocked by Ange's plan, and he hasn't gotten it right yet against Arsenal. Let's just be clear. I mean, his record against Arsenal is terrible.
Yeah, I actually didn't think the lineup was the issue. I mean, the midfield was a little bit due to the fact that Basuma got injured in the international break. He definitely would have started at the 6. But I still think, honestly, playing Kulusevski and Maddison together in that 10 when we knew that Arsenal was going to sit in and play the way we did, I actually didn't hate that decision. And I thought we got into good spaces. It just was for lack of creativity from the wingers to create good chances for Solanke, because I honestly think that if we made 5 of those balls that were shit actually good crosses, Solanke comes away with a goal. Just his activity around the box was amazing, and there was just no service that could suffice for him to score. And I mean, the only positives to take away is that my 2 agendas live on. Martinelli could be the worst player in the entire world. I mean, he punched Porro in the face one time, and then there was a very well-timed ball, but his final product
is very bad right now.
Is atrocious. It has always been atrocious, had one good season flash in the pan, and Ben White is atrocious. He's a product of the system, as I've been saying. Another shit performance from him.
First bad performance in a year, but yeah.
But the rest of the side was, I don't even know if it was really good. We didn't create enough problems.
Well, that's the thing. You actually didn't create anything. And I think it's similar to what happened in the Newcastle match where people are like, Tottenham had the most shots in any loss. Well, all of those shots were kind of nothing. They were from outside the box. They were kind of from bad situations. Your best opportunity came about 6 minutes in this match when you got you beat us down on the sideline and got it into Kulusevski right inside the 6. That was the best thing you did all match. And then you stopped trying to work the middle of the pitch. I just don't understand it. We're missing Declan Rice, who is our best transition defender, our best defender in the middle of the pitch. And you didn't try and take advantage of that at all. I mean, the few times that you did, you came out in the second half, actually, and I thought it was brilliant what you did, which is you knew Jorginho's covering the left half space, and you kept playing that ball into that channel, and Jorginho was trying to chase Kulusevski down. You did it 2-3 times very successfully, and then you just stopped doing it again. Like, you kept going to Wilson Odobert, who, by the way, couldn't get by Jurriën Timber. Timber, to me, was the man of the match. I don't know about you. I thought he was incredible. I know how good Jurriën Timber is on the ball, and I've heard how great he is defensively. Obviously, we haven't gotten to see him that much, but to me, Jurriën Timber was the man of the match. His defensive ability is absolutely striking for a player as technically sound as him. Like, it's like taking Zinchenko and taking your best potential defensive left back and putting them into one player. So I'm very excited by that. And I mean, at the end of the day, I just think there's a little bit too much of no real strategy for attacking scenarios for Tottenham when they play better sides. Like, when they play those lower sides, they get into the counterattack, they get their goals, they have the pace, all that works. But when you're playing Arsenal, you're playing City, you're playing the best defensive lines in the world, how are you getting goals? I still haven't seen it work yet for Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, I think Odobert I actually thought was fine when he came on. Like, it's a big spot for a young player, and he looked direct. I think Timber was great as a result to Brennan Johnson making him look like the best player on the pitch. If there was any sort of creativity from that right wing spot, I don't think Timber has as good of a match as it ended up being. But when your right winger is just essentially useless and kicking the ball directly into Timber every time he wanted to cross, it makes him look fantastic. Timber's obviously good. We've talked about that. But yeah, the incompetence out on the wings, Son, it's just so inconsistent from Son these days. It's just he has it or he doesn't, and it's like I don't know what to do with that because he's such a detriment when he's not
He's
on.
just
But
lost one step of pace. And like with a
yeah,
player like that, like obviously on his day, he's still fantastic and he can score from
yeah,
anywhere, but he just really can't take a man on 1v1 much anymore. Like
no,
he took Ben
never.
White on one time in the match and
One
it worked,
time he
and then he
spun him.
never tried again.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think you gave him that contract bumper, and it's like, what are you getting out of him in the next few years? Is there, I think you guys are going to be fine because you do well against the lower sides. You're going to score lots of goals.
we have
But
4 points through 4 matches. I mean, at this point, who's to say we're going to be fine? Like we're going to be in it just because, like I see there's Ange out conversations going on. Like he's not the problem. I still believe in everything he's trying to build. It's just like you have 4 points through 4 matches. Liverpool just lost. Like top four is so open.
yeah,
It's just at what point are we? Do I have to accept that like that's probably not in the cards when it 100% should be? It's a really frustrating game all in all because you're at home. Obviously, no Rice and Odegaard. I thought that whole thing was a bit overplayed, in my opinion. I mean, they're
we're
talking
missing
about
five
like
starters and seven of our first
it's
team
not
players.
starters. Calafiori does not start. Marino has not played a minute, so we
But
don't even know if we
he
don't
will
know
be the
that.
start. We missed our
Okay,
starting
but
midfield. That is, he was brought in.
no,
That'd
you
be like
missed
saying you
two
didn't
of your three.
That's like saying if Solanke didn't play the first match, you didn't know he's your starting striker. Yes, he is the
Okay, but you
starting
don't know that he's a
midfielder.
perfect fit. Like I just thought it
We don't know
was
he's a
so
perfect fit,
overblown.
but
Like
he is our
Declan
first
Rice,
choice left center midfielder. That's a fact.
they're so unlucky. Like first off, Declan Rice wasn't injured; he got suspended. That's part of
For
the
a
game. He got
horrific call.
suspended, and then you have one injury to your starting 11 in Odegaard, and everyone was acting like Arsenal is some under. They had 10 of 11 of their starting 11. They had 9 of 11, 10 of 11 fit, 9 of 11 starting of their starting 11. I thought that was overblown, but nonetheless, the point is, it was such a good opportunity when you have those two
Correct.
injuries and Saka playing the worst match I've seen him play. And the fact that at home we don't come away with any points is a massive, massive problem. And the biggest problem, and what I'm trying to figure out and can't come to terms with, is I don't know what or if there is a fix for. Like, obviously, there was a difference in levels between the two teams. We know that. That's become evident over the past few years. But I don't know, like before I saw the path potentially of how we can become a contender or just closer, close the gap a little at least. And I don't see it. The one thing I am happy about is I do think there actually is a gap between Man City and Arsenal. But
I mean, if Holland's going to play like this, there's a gap between Man City and the rest of the world. That was the
I
difference,
mean,
right? Last year, he was the best striker in the world, but it wasn't he was one and everyone else was seven. That seems to be the case right now. But hey, you score goals in bunches, then the goals may dry up. So, I mean, I think the gap between Man City and Arsenal is exactly where it was last year. They're just more, they have Holland. We don't have Holland. But hey, one bad Declan Rice call away from us probably also being 4 wins in 4 matches. We come away with a win at our biggest rival. I'm not going to complain. If you told me we were going to have 10 points right now at the start of the season, I probably would have taken that every single day of the week. So
yeah,
we're on pace with where we want to be. And no, I mean, I listen, I get your point about Marino. And if we lost, I wasn't going to say it's because we were missing people. At this point, if we want to challenge Man City, the squad has to be deep enough that if you're missing 3 or 4 starters, you can still win big matches. And to me,
right.
that's my takeaway. Not that the gap is bigger than it was last year. My takeaway is this is the first time that we have ever gone to Tottenham without our starting 11, our dream 11, and gotten 3 points, right? You think about the year that we blew top 4. Everyone's blaming because Rob Holding had to come in because Saliba got hurt. Well, we were missing Rice and Odegaard, and we went out and won with a midfield of Jorginho, Havertz, and Partey. So, to me, that's the takeaway. The takeaway is our squad is finally deep enough that we can go to our biggest rival, win on the road in a hostile environment, win ugly, which people want to be like, oh, Arteta's just Mourinho. But, we've never in my life been able to win ugly. Arsene Wenger's biggest issue was he could never win ugly. Unai Emery tried to make us win ugly. It didn't work. Arteta's found a way for us to win ugly. To me, that's how you win a title. We're going to do plenty of 6-0s, 4-0s, 5-1s. Those are going to come. Can we go to Tottenham with that midfield? Can we go to Tottenham with Martinelli in bad form and Saka playing horribly, Ben White having his worst match and win? Yeah, we can do that. So to me, that's the exciting thing.
I agree, and I think one of the commentators made that point. It was like a team doesn't win the Premier League title, squad
Yeah,
does, and I
Lee
think
Dixon
that
said
hit
that.
it on the head for sure. And yeah, it's a huge win. I just my after watching this match, my same thought stays true of the sense of a front three of Saka, Martinelli, and Havertz is just not good enough to win a Premier League title. I don't think it ever will be. Maybe Raheem Sterling could be the savior out on that left wing.
He did not look good,
Um,
I will say,
you know who did look good? Reece Nelson in his
for
first
Fulham.
appearance. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean Reese, Smith Rowe, and Nketiah have all been excellent. They're all excellent
yeah,
footballers. That's why.
yeah,
Like it's one of those things where if you're at the back end of a top squad and still getting some minutes, you're going to be great at a Crystal Palace, at a Fulham, at wherever
right.
you go. Like that's the thing that I think people like didn't think about is like, yeah, they're probably not the level of being a starter for Arsenal. But that doesn't mean they're not the level. I mean, Smith Rowe's been awesome for Fulham. Reese Nelson looked great. They're a little inconsistent. That's why they're not playing for
Yeah,
Arsenal still, but they can still do a job. And I mean, they all three of them played excellent this weekend.
yeah. It's the inconsistency is just like when Son's so inconsistent where it's at the point of if Son is not playing well, and then our right winger, if it's Brennan Johnson, is usually not playing well, you then have two of a front three and a target man being your striker who needs service, and you're
Right.
essentially cooked in terms of creating good chances. I'm actually genuinely curious what our XG was today because we really
Tell you
didn't
right now.
create like a very good chance. Honestly, maybe the best chance if Dom was on his toes more was when we pressed, Ben White gave it away and he took an extra touch and Saliba closed the space
Yeah, I
down.
mean that
Um,
Saliba's recovery pace on that play was insane.
no, it was great, but at the same time, if he gets it
He
out of
has to
his
get rid of
feet,
that
like
earlier for sure.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, also you had an opportunity in about the 72nd minute where we gave the ball away. You had four guys lined up at the top of the box, and they just kept passing it,
oh
and the
my
chance
god, and
went.
then it's yeah,
And then
no,
the
it's
next 20 minutes you spent taking long shots. Like the team just kind of gave up. And that's what I'm like. You had the first 10 minutes, you took a stranglehold, you went through the middle of
yeah,
the pitch and you just dominated us. And I just looked it up. You had 0.8 XG. You probably got zero point 0.5 of that from that Kulusevski shot from the 6-yard box that got saved. And then I don't
yeah,
know where the rest of it even came from, but yeah, like
yeah,
it's the inconsistency is an issue. Ange has a lot of work to do, and he's got to find a midfield pairing that can actually help you control the game through the middle of the park. Because you know what, the wings will open up if you start using the middle of the park a little bit more. Your issue is now everyone knows. I don't know if you noticed, but we almost never came out when you went to go cross the ball. We gave you the space to cross the ball because you weren't
yeah.
aiming for anyone. You were just
It
slinging
was
it in.
yeah. I
And
across was the best. I mean, Arsenal probably should filter their defense to crosses to begin with because of how aerial dominant
right,
that back four is to begin with. And then when you compile it on top of the fact that you have a bunch of people crossing it to nobody, it's essentially a dream. And we fell directly into the trap. I think the answer is Bergval in the midfield. We just haven't seen enough of him yet. He's young, but he has the creativity to find those little spaces
yeah, for
that
sure.
Odegaard kind of picks up to try and break the lines, which I thought Kulusevski did a pretty good job of today. But again, it was just not good enough from top to bottom. And then like I wouldn't have been happy. I wouldn't have even been happy with a draw, but it's like, fine, you get the draw. And then just inevitably it's the set piece that kills us. And it's that simple. Like it's just so rinse and repeat. It's like sickening at this point.
For sure. I mean, Tottenham have some work to do. Maybe they could do a little Europa League run. I think Ange Ball will work quite well there. You want to quickly talk about Manchester United? I don't know if you got to watch that match, but I'm so excited for them because they have 5 games in a row now that are so easy, and all of them
Yeah.
are going to be so excited with. I mean, they were getting their butts played off the pitch for the first 40 minutes against
Yeah.
Southampton, missed penalty kick, and then the whole game flips
Right.
on its head. But I mean, Ten Hag is not a good manager. This is
No.
all it comes down to. I mean, they are going to continue to fail. They're going to continue to spend money on players that doesn't make sense. I just don't know where they go from here. And as you said, like these types of things, like we saw with Liverpool, you mentioned they lost at home to Nottingham Forest. Like, yes, they won their first 3 matches, but this is not Klopp's Liverpool. They're going to be incredibly inconsistent.
Right.
Everything below second place is so up in the air. Like even Brighton, like they had a hot start, but then they come away with a 0-0 with
Right.
Ipswich. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen when you're not an Arsenal or City right now. Like third through 10th could literally end in any single way. And so all you need is 1 5 6 game stretch of winning matches. And it's really an open Premier League.
Yeah. That's why maybe this year it's the most frustrating because it is so open. You have the new Liverpool, Chelsea struggling, Man United we know is atrocious. Like, and then we bring in Solanke, and I thought we made good bit, like, and then it's just never good enough. And I, at some point, maybe it is an Ange thing. I don't think it is, but maybe like at some point you need to start asking questions. He's brought in. I mean, we've backed him. Like very clearly, he's gotten backed
Most
more
backed
than
manager Tottenham's had probably
right.
since Pochettino.
Pochettino barely even got
Yeah,
backed. I mean, he just took in Kane and Son. Dele was virtually free. Like we
right.
didn't really spend with that team, and it's just, I mean, thinking back, if we had
Well,
backed Poch like we backed Ange, I mean, who's to say where we would be? But
I mean, the question really becomes for Ange, yes, it's a project and all of these things, but a Tottenham project and an Arsenal or Manchester United project are very different, right? If you're a part of an Arsenal or Manchester United project, you understand that the potential future of a club of that size is Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, whatever. That's the goal. Is that the situation at Tottenham? Like, if I'm Mickey Van de Ven and this season continues to go this way, I'm one of the best 5 center backs in the world. And I feel pretty confident to say that Mickey Van de Ven is. He's an incredible player. He's going to leave
fantastic.
Tottenham. Like, you're going to lose your spine, whereas, like, Arsenal built around a spine. Like, Manchester United's trying. It's not working. But, like, a Manchester United has a chance to continue to bring in, players like De Ligt and Ugarte and players like that who are at big clubs. Like, Tottenham have done really well to go out and find, Mickey Van de Ven from Wolfsburg and get Pedro Porro in and get Destiny Udogie, like those types of players. But in one more year, are they going to continue to believe in this project if they're not even getting top 4 consistently? Like, that's the issue for Ange. I'm not so sure he's not a good manager, but if he can't get the players to stick around, the project isn't a project.
No, I completely agree. This season was supposed to be top 4, Europa League semifinal or final, and then make some sort of a cup run, whether it's a quarterfinal or a semifinal, and show that there's intent. And if the trophy doesn't come off, it is what it is. Like 3 or 4 teams win a trophy the entire year. Like that's just it can't happen every single year. I mean, it hasn't happened in forever, but yeah,
It's
and
good to
it
be
looks like
self-aware.
yeah, and it looks like maybe none of that could I mean, I don't know. I don't want to fully overreact yet, but
For
4
sure.
points from 4 matches is obviously unacceptable. And it's a long road from here. I just want
I
to
mean, your
bring
only
John
win is against the worst team in the Premier League right now, which is
exactly.
Everton. And
Yeah.
I mean, even Leicester, the fact that you didn't get 3 points from Leicester, I mean, you could live with not getting points off of Newcastle and Arsenal. You're not happy about it, but you can live with
No.
it.
Yeah.
But only having 4 points through 4 matches is
No, it's
definitely not what
awful.
Tottenham expected.
Yeah, and it's not like we went through a true gauntlet. Like we played a relegation team, we played the worst team in the Prem, and then a top 4, like a top 6 battle. Like it's just bring in John Duran. He might be the best player in the entire
I
Premier
mean,
League.
we should have a conversation about his ball striking because I am blown away by the way that this
It's
guy
insane.
plays.
That goal is outlandish.
I actually screamed. Like I was, I literally could not contain what you could see it the second he hit it, right? He's just one of those players where it's like, holy shit, this looks special and just unbelievable. I mean, Emi Martinez was literally,
I know.
his mouth was agape.
Yeah, it's going to be a long season. It's too early to be this upset. So maybe after I take an hour, maybe I'll go for a walk and hit the reset button because we have a long season ahead of us. But right now, it certainly looks grim, and maybe thank God for the international break, because if this had just compiled on top of each other in 4 straight weekends where we got 4 points from 4 matches, like I got a Poch announcement sprinkled in between, which gave me a little life. But yeah, that's the recap. Tottenham sucks. Arsenal was
Good
better.
enough.
Yeah,
Good enough.
And that's all it takes.
Every time we get 3 points, we're 3 points closer to winning the title. So
100%.
Listen, I know we weren't pretty, but I'll say it over and over again. We never used to win matches like this, whether it was against Tottenham or anybody. We have found a way now in the last 6-9 months to do it. And, we got Man City at the Etihad next weekend. Hopefully we get Odegaard back. If not, we will have Declan Rice back. But, yeah,
also, real quick.
Hit me.
What did Vicario do to deserve a yellow card? That grabbing someone by their shirt with 2 hands and equally pushing them is not a yellow card. Like I didn't want Timber to be sent off for that specific tackle or you give him a yellow for the tackle, and then if you give Vicario the yellow for the pushing, you have to give the yellow to Tim. Like, I didn't want him sent off for that, but what is the difference? How does he not get a second yellow for
So
grabbing Vicario?
I think Timber got his yellow not for the tackle, but for playing on past the whistle. That's what I think he got the yellow for. The tackle was, if anything, maybe clean. Like, he was on top of the ball.
No.
It was a little bit of a foul. I wasn't, whatever. Jared Gillett is the worst referee in the Premier League. And he lost. You cannot give yellow cards out in the first 20 minutes the way he was doing it, because then everything becomes a yellow card.
The Bentancur tackle was not a yellow card offense. Like, it wasn't like he was impeding him on purpose, and it was that type of tactical
he said
foul.
It was because he did 2 tactical fouls. That's why. I mean, I'm not saying it was yellow. I'm just telling you why Jared pointed. He was like,
yeah, it's just.
It's not.
I mean,
pretty.
and it's like, I guess maybe they're just trying to be consistent now, but like what Saliba did, we've seen a million times unbooked in the Premier League.
I mean, we've seen it booked. I literally tweeted this. I said, the Premier League referees are so good at, instead of admitting a mistake, like, all they had to do was like, okay, we probably shouldn't have given that second yellow to Rice. That's not how the game's supposed to be officiated. Instead, they're doubling down and now going to call every time someone touches the ball after the play a yellow card.
Right.
Like, that isn't the point of the rule. The point of the rule is if you stop a break or whatever, yada, yada, yada. Like, Saliba was just like, doing what every center back does, which is you're out of position, so you grab it real quick and then drop
throw it back.
Yeah, like that's the most common thing.
I agree. I mean, we literally texted as soon as that happened, like, that was bullshit, but it's huge. And like you touched on minute 3 of this recording, it ended up not being huge because we didn't go at him and cause him any sort of issues, which...
I have actually one other question for you about Tottenham.
Yeah.
I guess I don't watch your games closely enough. What is your kickoff routine where you just kick it right to our left back? Because you did that twice. You had 2 kickoffs and you kicked it back inside the semicircle and then directly to Timber. Like, nobody even challenging Timber. Like, I was...
As if Brennan Johnson's potentially the least aerial dynamic player on the pitch, and that's... what pisses me off more than literally anything, more than the kickoff thing, because it's like essentially just like, whatever, start the game, give him the ball if that's the plan, hoof it deep. I don't know. The lack of movement on fucking throw-ins, like, throw-ins are actually not a difficult thing to do. If they're man marking, one person clears the space and then someone further behind them who isn't marked just take up that fucking space.
Correct. Yeah.
It's that was pissing me off to
both of our teams did that, by the way. Neither of us could get the ball in on a throw, and it's ridiculous.
It's not that difficult. It takes just an ounce more of effort than anyone was willing to put in to get into an open space. And
I actually think it's a tactical thing. I think that these players and a lot of what the complaint about modern football is that, like, it's so strict to staying in your position and everything's very, like, tight and whatever. It's like players don't want to come drop into where they're not supposed to be, because then the whole buildup gets ruined. Yeah. Because their players aren't, which I think is silly. Like, get the freaking ball in and then don't turn it over. It's free possession that you're giving up. You get to use your hands instead of your feet. It's free. It's literally free.
The one time we had a successful throw-in, Porro had to hit a half volley across the entire field to Destiny Udogie, like that famous Marcelo clip from left back. And that was the one time we successfully got out of a throw-in. But yeah, that shit pisses me off. It's not just a Tottenham thing. It just reminded me, similar to no plan off the kickoff. It's like consistent in the Premier League, that no one can seem to figure out how to get a throw-in and keep possession. When if the ball is originally at their feet, both Arsenal and Tottenham are capable of playing out of it. They just can't find a way to get it to their feet, which is just insane to me.
It was a disaster.
All right. That's all I got. Who do we play next?
Pulisic had a goal and an assist. For those who are here for the Americans abroad, update: Griffin Yao is back in the starting lineup. Chris Richards actually didn't play, which was pretty shocking. I know Max Lacroix got his first start for Crystal Palace, but I think Richards, maybe just because he played both matches in the international break, maybe is why he didn't start. Nothing else massive.
Good use of him in the international break.
Yeah, really smart. But we get Poch's first U.S. camp in October. We will have post-match reactions from both of those matches. We will do a squad episode as well when that first squad is announced and talk through who Poch has selected. And we'll be back obviously every week with our Premier League updates and roundups. And Champions League football is back this week.
Yeah.
So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel Yanks Abroad. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at Yanks Abroad. And yeah, Casey, worst of luck to Tottenham.
Thank you. Can I get a prediction for your next 2 matches, Atalanta and Man
I
City?
think you're going to see a very young side go play at Atalanta because the Man City match is more important. I think with the 8-match league stage, you can, potentially like not win every match and not
Sure.
worry too much about Atalanta. I mean, of course, our one Thursday Champions League match ever is the week that we have to play Man City,
Right.
like that one fewer day off. You definitely won't see Odegaard. I bet you'll see Rice just because he didn't play this past weekend, obviously.
Yeah.
I would hope not Saka. I think Ethan Nwaneri will get his first Arsenal start. Might see one other youngster, but I think you'll probably see Jesus and Sterling,
Yep.
maybe Trossard as well, with either Jorginho or Partey in that midfield. So
On the
I think
weekend?
Atalanta will probably be a draw. City, give me a point. Just get me out of there with a point. Sit deep. Sit as deep as you want.
Oh, you
Get
guys
me
are
out of
going to
there with
sit
a
deep.
point.
There's no doubt about that.
We're going to do what we did last year. We're going to force them into the middle and then suffocate them and not let them get out into the areas. And, Holland's goal streak's coming to an end because Saliba is his daddy. So excited to see it.
All right. Well, we'll recap that after that match too.
Certainly will.
William, congrats. I guess I wasn't even going to mean what I was about to say. So, but good luck.
Well, the good news is you have as many wins as the Emirates as we do at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But the Emirates has been open for 13 years longer. So that's the good news.
That is the good news. All right.
Peace.